What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Real quick, I don't know S-Bone. I heard earlier that S-Bone, the YouTuber, was he passed away. Whatever happened, but it wasn't natural causes. And somebody sent me, I know Gunner did a video on it, and somebody sent me Dirty Weather 916 sent me his video. And I just want to say that I think that was a cool thing that Dirty Weather did, man. S-Bone being from LA, a Crip from LA, for Dirty Weather to go over there and leave some flowers on behalf of those that can't do it for S-Bone. I respect that, man. So I wanted to acknowledge that and say that was a good thing you did, Dirty Weather. Today's video, I want to talk about, and I think I've actually told this story already. I don't remember, but I wanted to tell it again. And this story has to do with me personally. And it's hard to say now because how bad fentanyl is, right? But I really feel like the worst drug that's ever been created so far is meth, man. What it does to people's minds, what it does to their morals, what it does to them physically, man. You didn't see any other drugs before that doing that shit, right? People would get hooked on whatever they got hooked on, but their teeth weren't falling out of their head. Their hair wasn't falling out. They weren't aging immediately. And who would have thought, man, that a drug could do that and people would still be into that drug, right? Now, what I want to talk about is, you know how bad a drug is. Well, let me just tell the story. So I happen to be in a position of authority, and meth had been around, for years, and it was doing its thing to a lot of people's minds. And there were bottles that would, they would do that shit, and next thing you know, they're gone. They disappear. They create scenarios in their own mind where they're going to get hit. And I'm talking about good dudes, man, that had nothing to worry about. They would go on a little run and just fucking lose their mind, man, and swear the whole fucking yard's trying to whack them. And you had other dudes that they got along great with their cellies, and they go on a little run, and next thing you know, they smoke their cellie. Why? Because they created a scenario in their mind that their cellie was out to get them, and then they wind up killing them. Now, back to what was going on. We had somebody. I'll just tell you this. I told this story before where there were two dudes in the cell, and a clavo got pinched that they were supposed to turn into us, and one cellie blamed the other, and then it created a thing. And then prior to me even going out to hear everything out and cast my vote, the other dudes in charge, when I go out there, they're like, hey, we already talked about it, and it don't work like that, right? So they're like, hey, we already talked about it, and we're just gonna fucking whack this one, right? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, who talked about it? We didn't all talk about it, And The thing was, is one of the dudes in the cell was a connect. He was actually the dude I used to get all of my stuff from. But who gives a fuck, right? What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. So these dudes, all the other dudes on the you know, that were in charge, I knew what they were doing. They want to save the dope man. They want to save the connect because he's going to remember that. And they're going to be like, come on, homie, slide me a little something. You know I had you. Whereas the Sally, he was just a regular vato, you know, but he got high. So they were like, oh, he pinched it. This. So anyways, I told him, nah, I don't think it's going to go down like that. At least I'm gonna say what I got to say. And if you vatos still feel the same, then, you know, at least I had my say, right? I said, but I have a different idea. And they were like, well, what are you thinking? I said, first of all, yeah, one of them is he's a tecato. He gets high, right? But he's always paid for his shit, you know? I said, the other one, the one that you're choosing to believe is a fucking habitual liar. Like, we know he's a habitual liar. Why would we now take his fucking word? Why? Because he's a connect. Who gives a fuck? We got other connects. We got other ways to make things happen. I said, now, what I believe should happen is this, that if I remember, I know it was 500 cash from each one of them, right? And I think it was 3 grams a piece. I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to charge them both 3 grams and $500 a piece. Oh my God, that was music to their ears. Oh yeah, you know what? That's a better plan. Let's not whack that guy. So the one that they had initially intended on whacking, we pulled them both over and said, this is what's going to happen. And, you know, told them, you're going to pay this and you're going to pay that. They were like, all right, cool. They were both happy they weren't going to get whacked, right? So, but the one that was going to get hit, he pulls me to the side and he's like, look, I know them fools wanted to hit me, homie. I know them. He goes, they're all dope fiends. I knew they were going to save that, my Sally, and they were going to try to gun me down. He goes, I know you saved me, fool. And he goes, I want to ask you for a favor. And I said, what's that? He said, let me sell up with you, Holmes. He goes, I know if I'm in your cell, motherfuckers won't even like rethink it, you know. And I had a cool Sally, man. I talked about him in the past. It was a cool dude from Eastside Longo, who later, unfortunately, wound up committing suicide. He was a cool youngster, man. And I was like, look, I got a cool ass Sally, but if you feel like you need to do that, I don't give a fuck. I'll bring you in. So he's like, yeah, do that for me. So we were Sally's for a while. And he was cool, man. He was the best. And I've had people in the comment section saying that it's bullshit, that I never used, that like, how did I test my stuff? The fuck? We all had testers. But this Sally, he became my tester. And anytime I got something, he'd love it because he knows he's getting a shot right off the top. So, you know, we were Sally's for a while and we got along real good. Now, what happened was he had a little brother and his little brother wasn't a banger. This dude used to be on his brother, don't get involved in none of the bullshit, you know, go to school, do good, man. Well, his family lived in a certain neighborhood in the SGV. And they wanted this dude, supposedly, this is what my Sally heard and told me, they wanted him to be from that barrio that he lived in. And he didn't want to be from there, so they want him smoking him. Well, when that happened, my Sally kind of started losing it. You know, that was his baby brother. I remember one day, I came in to the section, and people used to call my section the old man section, right? And it used to crack me up. And the reason why they called it the old man section was I had an understanding with everybody in there that we're going to keep it as quiet as we can. We don't need to be yelling out the doors or none of that. And it was always very quiet. So I come in the section, right? And I just hear somebody banging on it, like, bah, on the door. Bah. And I'm like, what the fuck? I don't see anybody on the doors. I get closer to my cell, and it's my fucking cell. And I'm like, what the fuck is this vato doing? The door opens, right? And I see my cellie there. And he's just like, he was drunk. He just looks at me like, hey, all right, and I went in. They closed the cell door behind me. This vato was in the middle of the cell, and he had a boot, and he was hiking it like it was a football into the door. I told him, man, knock that shit off, eh? Get on your bunk. Like, what's going on here? And he was crying for his brother. He's like, man, my brother. He goes, I know. He goes, anybody from that vato shows up, I'm going to whack him. And I told him, you can't do that. You can't do that. I said, if you have a personal with somebody, you know what time it is. You let us know you got a personal issue. You tell them get their shit. You get yours, and you guys meet up and you guys book each other. But you can't just whack anybody just because you feel like it. And you damn sure can't whack somebody from a neighborhood that did something to your brother when they had nothing to do with it. And he's like, well, I want to do that. I said, you can't even tell me that. Like, I have some authority here. You can't, like, now I'm knowing, like, if you whack somebody from there, homie, that's your ass. You can't just do it like that. And so that was the first time we had a little disagreement in the cell. And like I said, I noticed he was, his mind wasn't right anymore. And so I say about a month later, I was like, you know what? I'm probably going to wind up whacking this dude myself if I don't move him out. He's a good dude. He's hurting right now. He has no way to let it out. And he's going to wind up fucking his off. So I told him, look, this is what I'm going to do, Holmes. I says, in order for you and I to remain cool, I'm going to move you next door. We're still straight, but I'm going to move you next door. So I move him next door, and with a very good camarada of mine. And the whole time that we were cellies, one thing he wouldn't test and he wouldn't even use was meth. Getting back to the original story, right? As soon as he moved next door, so my camarada that was next door, he was from Santa Rosa, right? And anytime I hit, every clavo I got, I always kicked him down at least a gram for his locker. Like, hey, Holmes, boom, do whatever you want with that. So I hit some meth, right? And matter of fact, I think it was even crank, because nobody could get crank. And somebody told me, like, hey, man, I got a hold of this shit. I don't know where the fuck it came from, but it's bomb. So I had it sent in. And so I send it over and I'm like, hey, you want to test that for me? And he's like, I'll test it. And I was like, damn. I said, man, you never do that shit. He's like, nah, I feel like doing some right now. I said, okay. Well, he did the shot. He said it was amazing. So I start bagging shit up, get it out to the yard. Well, about 3 days later, my camarada tells me, hey, Holmes, you need to talk to this fool. And I said, what's going on? And he says he has a piece of plastic in his eyeball. I was like, fuck. I said, what's going on, Holmes? I'm wearing the vent. I go, what's going on? And he goes, hey, homie, I don't know how it happened, but I have like a piece of plastic stuck inside like it's inside of my eyeball, but it's trying to come out. I said, look, Holmes, I'm going to send you some carga right now, some heroin, right? I said, I'm going to send you a shot of carga. Do that shit and go to sleep, homie, because right now, you sounding real weird, eh? So the alarm's up. And so I sent him the carga. I don't know if he does it. But because he was my cellie, he knew that there was something in the works. We had 8 knives in a specific cell. And at this point, we were a day or two away from, we wanted to hit 4 dudes at once. And there's a reason for it. I won't go into any details, but we needed somebody to be on somebody a whole lot longer. But I'll just tell you that. So we needed distractions around the yard for the cops to pay more attention to that, right? So he was aware of it. And so, like I said, when I told him, hey, you need to do this, you need to do a shot of carga and go to sleep. Well, in the middle of the night, I hear arguing next door. So I get up and I get in the van. I go, what's going on? And my camarada says, hey, this vato's tripping. Anyways, when the cops coming by for count, my old Sally takes off on my camarada. So the cops will see it. So they take him out. And when he gets cuffed up and he's getting escorted out, he stops in front of the cell, almost to my door. He looks in my cell and he tells me, gracias, motherfucker, gracias. And he's yelling. I'm off of the window, off of the door, but I can see him. I don't want the cops to see me watching, right? And I'm looking like, no fucking way. I saved this dude's life. I brought him into my cell. I fed him. I fed his habit. And I knew what he was just about to do to me by the way he just acted. So what he did was he goes down to the program office. He goes down to the cages, whatever. And he asks to speak to a specific CO, Samurio. Anybody that's been in Ufosum knows who Samurio is. Calls himself Zap. He's a fucking idiot. And he tells Samurio when he comes on shift, hey, go hit this cell over here in this section. You're going to find 8 pieces. He said 2 of those pieces are fucking bone crushers, and they were. They were all nice, but there was 2 that were hefty. They were all flats. And he says, you're going to find 2 bone crushers. And he says, those are for you. And he tells Samurio that I got a green light on him. And he's basically a dead man walking. That if they don't go get those knives, he's going to die in the yard. Wasn't true. Wasn't true at all. But that morning, the cops went to that cell. They hit every cell in our section. They had officers assigned to each cell, came running in. Now, the cell that had him was another person in authority, and I felt like I couldn't understand why he still had him in the cell once he saw the dude leave. You have a responsibility to remain on the yard for as long as possible when you have that type of position. He should have moved him down to another cell or into another section. We could do that easy. Instead, he kept him. And he got caught with all of them, right? So I'm not going to continue with that story. I've told that story before. But I got thrown on potty watch, right? So I go and do my potty watch, give them the 3 shits. I come back. Oh, they try to move me out of the section too. That was funny. The Huda's like, oh, you're going to go to 4 block? And I said, no, I'm not. I'm going to my cell. Oh, well, we moved somebody in. I said, escort me to my cell. Anyways, yeah. So I got my cell back. And I immediately find out, what's going on. Hey, so-and-so, so-and-so, said this, this and that. Okay, well, whatever. And I make a decision. An executive decision, right? Meth is no longer allowed on this yard. Period. So I go to yard. I'm yard crew, right? So I go to yard and I pull over all the vatos that I know hit that were raza, right, from Southern California. And I said, hey, as of right now, no white comes in, period, at all. And You know, I had one dude and he's like, hey, homie, you know, I got a few ounces at the pad right now. I said, well, they're going to stay at the pad. I said, you can do whatever you know, as a man, you can do whatever you want. I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you that if it comes on the yard and I find out whose it is, it's going to be a problem for that person. You know, I'm not threatening you, but I'm telling you what just happened and what's been happening are not going to happen anymore. And I did. I stopped meth from coming onto a fucking level 4 yard. Now, the reason why I'm telling you that, this has nothing to do with, oh, he thinks he was power. I wasn't shit. I always tell people that. I wasn't shit, right? But this story is about how bad is a drug when convicts don't even want it on the yard. When dudes are like, man, I'm glad you fucking stopped that shit from coming on this yard. So when I see people like, I see the what is it, Fools Gone Wild and all that stuff. And, sometimes they do funny shit, shit that's like it's going to trip you out. You're like, damn, put on that. But it's sad. It's sad that motherfuckers lost their mind for a fucking drug that just destroys their soul, their morals, their physical being, their mindset, like everything. Fentanyl's worse because it's fucking killing our kids. It's killing a lot of people. But to me, men that I saw that were solid as rock just crumble behind that drug. That's the worst shit ever, man. Anybody who has beaten that damn addiction that watches this video, hey, I applaud you. Where's it at? For reals. Because I know it ain't no joke, man. This is a way longer video than I'm used to. My apologies. But today I really wanted to talk about that, and I hope that anybody who's struggling with it, this can motivate you to know, man, like, even in there, motherfuckers don't even want that around. Now, I mean, who knows? Now it's probably just whatever people can get their hands on, but I gave a fuck. Anyways, man, everybody please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.